You're listening to the Zero to Somewhere podcast with Nick Palmisano and Albert Zoe.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 9 of the Zero to Somewhere podcast. My normal co-host, Albert Zoe, is not present today because we did a 10-40-10 workout together, and afterwards he just couldn't move. He was like a sad old man, and he decided he had to go into the woods of Texas. So my co-host today will be Susie Palmisano, our COO and my wife. She married me purely for the green card, and as this episode goes on, you'll see why. Susie, is there anything that you'd like to say as an introduction to the folks that don't know that you exist until just this moment?
Well, what people will be surprised at is I'm actually very British.
She is in fact English. She only says British when it's like the Olympics, you know, and like you can get like the Welsh and the Scottish and, you know, I don't know, all of their medals combined. But any other time it's like, I'm from England.
Very
I'm
English.
from England. The Welsh are shit. The Scottish are dumb. Like very, you know, just the reason everyone hates the English. That's what Suze brings to the table.
I do. It's true.
All right. Suze is our COO, though, and she actually is involved in a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, making sure this place runs really well. And so, as always, before we formally introduce our guest, Stephen LeNoir, who has crazy stories that are awesome, and I can't wait to get into them, we always spend the first 10 minutes talking about how our business is going. So, you want to kick us off with anything? How are we doing?
We're doing great.
Very helpful. Very helpful. You know, it's your natural podcaster.
It's true.
And that's actually, you know, when I was looking for a mate, I thought, where can I find like someone that can really fucking podcast? And I got to tell you,
He went.
Right.
He was like, yes, English,
right there.
reserved,
Yeah.
quiet. Yeah.
Anyway, this was a good week. We sent out contracts for just under $250,000. So you know that'll kind of increase the size of our business by about 10%, which is a pretty good week. You know, so that'll bring our company up to like a $2.25 million business, which again I'm pretty psyched about that at the 17-month mark. We're going to have our first alcohol brand, and I'll announce them once they're formally signed, but I'm super excited about it.
Why?
What's that?
I said, why?
And, you know, so hopefully that's next week. We're telling you all about them. Super good week in that regard. And then the next thing, this is a thing that we have coming up. We had our first profitable quarter. When we say profitable quarter, we do that based on like an earned basis. So last quarter, we technically brought in more money than we spent. So, you know, in terms of the IRS, last quarter was profitable, but people pay in advance and whatnot for work we haven't yet done. And so for the sake of actually talking about our real profitability, we talk about, have we done the work? And so this last quarter was the first quarter where we earned profit. So huge step. We have no intention of going backwards. And obviously these new agreements push us healthily into profitability. But every quarter, we also provide bonuses to people based on profitability. So our company decided 20% of all profits immediately go to the employees. And one of the things we've talked about a little in the past is it's based on how everybody, and for those of you hearing the sirens right now, this is Durham. We don't try to block it out. Someone dies during every podcast episode. It's just so, you know, to that person and their family, you know, salud, slange, prost.
Didn't we just send my wife out there?
Oh, dude, I hope your wife didn't get murdered.
I have a good insurance agent.
Well,
It's okay.
I mean, it's like, and then your daughter's like Batgirl, you know, like because she
Living
saw it
the-
happen.
The
Durham.
mean streets of
Yeah.
Durham
Batgirl
now.
of
Yeah,
Durham,
and
yeah.
she just goes around avenging, like, you know,
Yeah.
that was dark. We went too dark. We were talking about employee profit
Profitability.
sharing.
Yes.
So-
Which actually results from our peer reviews. So we task our employees to rate their peers. So it becomes like the Hunger Games.
If you guys didn't understand what she said, peers, not pairs. It's the act. She doesn't speak proper English.
So anyway, yeah, it becomes like the Hunger Games around here. It's Hunger Games week is what I like to call it. So yeah, we actually send out a form. We get them to anonymously review their peers, but they can actually put their names if they wish, which people have actually started to do.
Almost everyone signs it,
Yeah.
which I think is great. We don't make anyone do that, but people will be like, I think you're a real piece of shit. Love, Tom.
Yeah, remember when you left that stinky thing in the fridge? I do. Yeah.
Anyway, from a serious perspective, the peer rating and putting compensation into the hands of employees has been a really good thing. Everybody always talks about like, oh, my boss doesn't really know what's going on. Why is the boss making decisions about all this stuff? And so we said, yeah, that's totally reasonable. You guys decide what your peers get in terms of bonus. And so, we gave out bonuses last Christmas quarter. Because we had a profitable quarter, like from a cash basis, and it was Christmas, and we were like, yeah, even though
Christmas,
this doesn't follow the actual rules of how we set this up, we're going to do it anyway. But this is the first quarter where it's earned, and so the percentage of bonus that everybody gets is going to be based on how well they did with each other. So we're going to see how all that goes, and whether everyone quits as a result, or fist fights, or
super interesting. Yeah.
And so I guess the last thing to talk about is. One of our clients, 104010, we haven't shot for them yet. They said, before you come and shoot our commercial, we want you and Albert to come do our workouts. And so we hopped on a flight to Chicago, went to the 104010 gym, and knocked out a workout on Monday, woke up in the morning, knocked out a workout on Tuesday. Great workouts.
Nick, why is it called 10-40-10?
That's a great question, Suze. 10 minutes of warm-up, 40 minutes of workout, 10 minutes of cool-down. It was a great workout, great group of people. They just had a 7-figure venture raise to expand from the Chicago area beyond. And we're super excited to be the folks that help them grow outside of that area. And it was a great workout. I was sore. I told them in advance that I had a minor shoulder injury from Afghanistan. So naturally, day one was a shoulder workout. So, Alex Witt, I love you, but also go fuck yourself. But nevertheless, I made it through. And now I think, Suze, it's time
Drum roll.
to introduce Steven, the bow hunter, LeNoir. So Steven has a phenomenal series of weird things that he's done. And those are my favorite guests are always people that kind of flitter from one weird thing to the next, because it means that you have like a creative mind and also you think you can do anything.
Yeah.
So sales. Real estate.
Yep.
I heard something about a car wash.
Yep. Jumped into that.
You were a farmer for a while.
Yep. Did that.
So what's wrong with you?
Man, so a lot. No, it's I don't know what it was. It was something that started I got out of the Army. I was a cavalry scout in the Army from 2008 to 2012. Got out, was medically discharged. Didn't really know what.
I just want you to know that while you're telling a serious story, I'm fighting the urge to make fun of Cav as an infantryman with every iota of my being.
That's okay, because if you ain't Cav, you ain't shit.
I wanted you. I just wanted you to have that. I wanted you to have that moment. Wanted you to have that.
It was coming. It was coming at some point.
All right, continue.
So I didn't really know what I was going to do. I had no idea. My plan had always been to be in the military forever, and die there or of old age, stuffed in a closet on a base somewhere.
Yeah.
So struggled a lot with trying to figure out what to do. Like my purpose, my direction, everything in life just kind of...
Talk about that a little bit, because it's a common thing when people get out of the military and they like full of piss and vinegar, but without a plan.
You internalize a lot of it. It's a lot of energy, a lot of anger at some points, remorse, guilt. I mean, it's all of it just kind of balled up, and you got nowhere to put it.
Yeah.
You got nothing to do, nowhere to put
As
it.
when anger leads to hate.
Yeah.
Hate leads to suffering. I mean, we know.
And you join the SIP.
We know
That's right.
how it goes.
That's absolutely right.
Next thing you know, you're chopping a dude in half.
Yeah, no. So my big thing was I was living at my dad's in his garage. I had done through ACAP. The one good thing they made me do was put a resume on Monster.com. That was pretty much the extent of the ACAP I went through.
Does Monster.com still exist?
I don't know. Probably not. But I get a phone call. I'm out fishing Lake LeNoir in Georgia, and I get a phone call one day. They're like, "Hey, we can't tell you what the company is, but if you can be at this hotel near the airport in 3 days, you have an interview."
Sounds fishy.
And I was like,
I'm game.
I just have one question.
I need you to wear women's stockings.
Yeah, is there a black leather couch involved? If there is, I'm out. I'm sorry. So I get down there, and it's me and a bunch of other vets in ill-fitting suits because none of us know how to wear business wear. I'm 21 years old at the time, and they come out and they're like, "Okay, we're here from Google. We're looking to bring on and hire a lot of vets to work on our indoor mapping project. So like the app that you see at Home Depot and Walmart and even at the airport and stuff to get around, that's the project we worked on. So they interviewed all of us in pairs, and like the guy I was paired with was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. And I'm like, there's no way they're going to pick me over him. But they asked, it's Google.
Well, did you let them know that you were Cav? Yeah. And if you weren't Cav, that you
the
ain't
interviewer
shit?
was a Marine anti-tank javelin guy.
Gotcha.
But it's Google. So number one thing right out the gate, this is my first experience with companies that ask weird questions in interviews.
Yeah.
And so the question they ask us is, all right, you guys are running behind. Your team has to get in the car. You've got time to grab breakfast from one place. Half the team wants to go to IHOP. The other half wants to go to Waffle House. Where do you go? And luckily, I didn't have to go first. The guy, the Black Hawk pilot, volunteered to go first. I said, "That's all you, buddy." And he's like, "Well, I'd probably just pick whichever one I wanted to go to, and that's where we'd go." And the project developer, like dead eye, like leans across. He's like, "So you'd be okay with half your team being fucking pissed at you the rest of the day?" I was like, "Oh, that's not the right answer."
Well, I mean, he's a pilot.
I took.
What do you think a pilot's going to say?
Yeah, I know.
I want to sacrifice for others. You're like, that's not happening.
I took 10 seconds to be like, I'd flip a coin because then they can be mad at the coin all day. I got hired and he didn't. So
Nice.
So apparently that worked out.
I like how you were like, I'm going to go with chance.
Yeah.
And Google was like, that sounds great.
Yeah, hey,
This guy.
That's the method we need.
yeah.
What they didn't know is that every additional question you were going to answer the same way.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Would you go left or right? Flip a coin.
I just like to flip coins,
So I worked for Google.
What's the name of the bad guy in Batman that does that?
Two-Face.
Harvey,
Two-Face,
yeah.
Right?
Harvey Dent.
Are you Harvey Dent?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Nope. I'm not an attorney. I didn't make it into law school.
Yeah.
So
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
That's
yet.
right. Yeah. So
Someone might dare you to or something.
fuck, man. Please don't. I worked for them for a year, and we traveled. Our region was the Southeast, so we hit everywhere. And some of the trips were really cool. Some of them really weren't. Like one of them, we ended up at Jefferson Davis Community College in Alabama next to a paper mill.
Yeah.
And it reeked. And like our job was to be the weirdos with the phones in their hand.
They probably spent a lot of
Easy.
time talking about General Grant.
A lot.
of time
There's a
there.
whole course on it. But so we're the guys with our phones in our hands, and they're like, "Well, bring backpacks just so you blend in some more." So we're the guys looking around like Unabombers, pacing
Oh my God.
pacing the school, because you had to walk. We had to walk every location the public could be in 3 times, and so you had to try and trace your steps as best as possible. And you got graded based on this.
You had to walk the exact same path.
Yeah, as close as possible.
Wow. Okay.
And so we would do that, and it was really awkward at airports doing it. Like we did the Tampa airport, and it's a small airport, but TSA probably came up to us like 5 or 6 times, like, "Hey, come over here." And I'm like, "Here's the paperwork."
You're like,
Here's
"I can't. I
I'm
need to
supposed
stay on my path."
Yeah, I got to stay right here, or they'll kill me.
Sir, I cannot move. I refuse to move off of this path.
But I mean, it was cool because so the entire team was veterans from every branch, different MOSs, everything. And we traveled all over the Southeast. We did every single Home Depot in the state of Georgia.
Wow.
I shop at Lowe's now.
Yeah.
I love Home Depot.
But
Yeah, I'm on Team Home Depot.
Yeah, it's
I
my
gotta
favorite.
I gotta tell you
It's my
that
favorite store.
because I ordered a dishwasher from Lowe's and they said it was going to be there in 3 days, and a month later they were like, "Oh shit, bro, we don't have the dishwasher."
have it,
And I
yeah.
called Home Depot and I was like, "I need this dishwasher," and they had it to me the next day.
yeah,
I hate Lowe's now. I won't give them a nickel.
Yeah.
walk through every Home Depot in North Carolina.
No.
So the best trip we did, we flew into Tampa and drove. We did the Tampa airport, and we drove all the way to Miami to do, or not Miami, Key West to do a junior college down there. And of course, the 3 days we're there, it's like storming. So there's no.
So you don't have any fun.
No, well, I mean, we've still found the bars, but we had, it's a group of all veterans like this.
What year was this?
2012.
Okay. So this wasn't peak like Will Smith, Miami.
No,
Okay.
no.
That's too bad because
Yeah.
that would have been a real treat.
So, from Key West, we went to Miami.
Yep.
And we found a place where you could get, if you bought 1 pound, or if you bought a bucket of beers, you got a pound of chicken wings with it.
Oh.
And so 3 a.m., we're all still sitting there, and they're like, "Hey, we got to close." Oh, it's 3 a.m. Our flight's in an hour and a half. We better get sobered up, cleaned up, and over to the airport. We made that flight barely back to Atlanta, but I did that for a year. It was great. We were working 70, 80 hours a week, but I was making $1,200 a week. It was great, but I didn't like working for anybody else. And when I was in the Army, I was stationed in Korea, and then I was stationed in Hawaii. So I never was on like mainland. So I hadn't seen my family in a long time or anything. So I wanted to be home more and kind of figure out more of what I wanted to do. So I used my GI Bill, started college, quit that after a semester because I just couldn't do it. I bought a.
Talk about that a little bit. What was the issue with college? Because a lot of veterans have this issue.
So I was just over 21 at the time. And I picked all the early classes because I figured all the shitheads in college didn't want the early classes. But you're sitting there, you're in anthropology, you're in these places, and these, or a history class, and these people are making, generalizations and observations about areas that they've never been to, people they've never studied, people they've never interacted with, and just the mentality of what college life is for 18 to 21-year-olds. It's very different than someone trying to go back because you're used to the stiff and rigorous organization of the military. You show up on time, you shut up, you do what you're supposed to do, and half the time the professors were 2 or 3 years older than me, and it just wasn't the pull and the draw wasn't there. Like everyone tells you, and the real reason I only went, everyone tells you, "Hey man, you get a college degree, you get a good job." My parents, they both have worked very hard in their life from very little, and I mean nothing. Yep. And my dad is about to retire from the state of Georgia. He makes well over 6 figures a year now. My mom just retired from the education system out in California, and she ended making 6 figures. But it took her, and it took both of them, 20 years, 19 years working in the system, dealing with all this crap from other people who, not because the system was that way, but that's because the people's interpretations of the systems were that way. And it just wasn't for me. It wasn't a good environment for me to be in. I was angry a lot. I was frustrated a lot. The homework was...
And any regrets about leaving?
No.
Okay.
Not one bit.
All right. So you leave school.
Yep.
And what do you do?
So I had started... During the first semester of school I was in, it was also hunting season, so I was doing a lot of hunting. I've shot a bow since I was like 6 years old. I've loved it. It's always been a part of my life. Watched a lot of hunting shows and everything, and so I was like, I could do that.
So you should know now that Suze's mom has won multiple archery competitions.
It's true.
Yeah.
In Great Britain, which I believe is the only Britain.
But we are great. We are great.
So Suze is going to be checking anything you say about
really
the
not.
bow.
This is fine.
I shoot
I brought
longbow.
mine up here last time. No one was around, so so I started filming videos, and this was still, YouTube wasn't still crazy in what it is today, but this was, some people say the original height of what YouTube was. And so I would, go out and I'd put a food plot in for deer, and I would just kind of film and do a quick time-lapse video. Or me and a buddy of mine who I was in Korea with, he actually lived in Florida. He would come up to Georgia, and we'd find like different areas of public land and stuff that we could hunt, and we'd go and hunt together, and we would just do different videos and stuff and just kind of goofing around. And I was like, okay, how do I turn this into my job? And so I started like a Facebook page. I started posting the videos up on YouTube. And then I would do what I called Marketing Mondays. Now, this is something I've never cold called anybody in my life, never done any kind of sales before in my life, nothing. And I would just call like, hey, Matthews Archery, my name's Steve LeNoir. This is what I'm doing. You should give me a free bow. And they'd be like, send me an email and I'll get back to you. I'm like, nah, because you're not going to get back to me. Like, let's have a conversation about this. And so for the first year, it was full of a lot of like really shitty videos.
Are they still up there? Can we find them?
Possibly.
Like how shitty? Like is anyone dressed as a deer?
No. No one's dressed as a deer. I also wasn't that good of a hunter in Georgia either, though. So there was not a lot of deer killed in the videos.
There's a lot of deer.
A lot of me
really scared. Like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
This is me running as a deer. Okay.
And so I just kind of continuing to work on it, and I was spending a lot of money in Bass Pro Shops, and they had some stuff going on.
Did you get anybody to give you money?
Yeah, I did. Eventually, I did.
Yeah. Let's
so
talk about that first person.
So the first thing that ever happened, actually, Bass Pro called me back and invited me to come teach a seminar on turkey hunting during their like turkey days.
Nice.
So your first win is Bass Pro Shops.
Yeah, straight up.
I've heard of them.
The local one, she just kind of liked how I presented myself and how I talked, and how I was always in there bugging them for stuff too. And so she said, okay, come in here, and if this works out, this is something you can do. And so the first one went really well. There was like 50 people packed in there, and a bunch of them were over like 45. So I'm like, okay, these guys have killed more turkeys than I've seen in my entire lifetime. But it went extremely well. 2 of the guys came back the next weekend and were bragging and showing pictures of the turkeys they killed after trying some of the stuff I showed. And so it kind of like from there, it took like a big ramp in a way that they're like, okay, great. So you're going to come back and you're going to talk and you're going to teach these 3 classes. Then Michael Wydell, who is like big in the hunting industry, he's got the Bone Collector brand with Realtree. He's going to talk after you. So then now I've got time to talk to him and kind of pick his brain about everything, because he lives in Georgia too. And from there, I found out that there's the ATA show. It's the world's largest industry archery show that goes on every year. Found out about it, and I made a phone call, and I said, hey, look, I'd love to come and talk. And one of the things that I'd kind of pivoted towards and talked more about and was kind of sharing more about is like, hey, let's get more veterans outdoors. Let's get more veterans. Like, if you're getting out and you're having problems, like, go buy a $200 bow and go try and kill a deer with it, because you'll get frustrated, you'll get mad, but you'll have somewhere to put that energy and something to get better at, something to work on. And they said, yeah, come on. And so for 4 years in a row, I was one of the speakers at this industry only. I'm talking in a room full of billionaires, and the program, my summit changed from let's get more of them in the outdoors to you need to hire more of them. You've got these precision manufacturing jobs that are here in the country. You need to hire more veterans.
Did you have some kind of like a name or handle when you were this deer guy? Were you like Agent Zero?
No. I just Stephen LeNoir.
The Elk Man, or
No, that's I left that to the characters that the Outdoor Channel tends to get. But no, I was just Stephen LeNoir. And so all of that really picked up.
L-Zone,
no. So I eventually ran into enough turbulence in Georgia with it, as far as trying to get through the white noise of how many other people were trying to do what I was doing. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to move back to California. And because if you can make it as a hunting professional in California, you can pretty much make it anywhere. There's people there.
I believe there's a song about that. If you can make it in California as a hunting professional, then you can make it anywhere.
If there isn't, I expect you to write one, Nick. So I moved back there, and it just gets bigger. I take on more of a full-time marketing position with Bass Pro.
I gotta tell you, this all sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So like, where do we go for how? It's like now you're shooting bows.
Oh, it goes
and selling.
living,
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
So here's
He's like, oh, it goes south fast.
here's a great the great part of it is, right, so like I was, as far as like trade shows and helping them sell the product and everything, I was one of Plano Synergies, who owns like 25 different brands in the hunting space. I was their number one big game hunting pro for the year.
Oh, wow.
So they took all of us from the different disciplines of all their different brands and took us to this like super crazy place in Texas called JL Bar Ranch. Like, to stay there for a weekend is $4,000. It's nuts. But it's an amazing place. One of the guys that I was there with killed a 215-inch whitetail. I don't know if you know what that is, Nick, but
I do.
Okay.
I do not.
So
explain it.
215 inches in
Lots of-
antlers. So you
Okay.
measure the length of all the antlers. So this joker had
This is like a private reserve, I'm assuming. Like
15,000 acres though.
Okay.
So
But-
it's not
but-
like it's not like, hey, I'm gonna shoot the one right there.
Are they raising them or are they bringing them in?
No, they bring them
they
in,
bring 'em in.
and then they manage their own herd, but they're not breeding them. They have exotics in there too, though, that they do the same thing with. But so I'm here on this place, and this trip is amazing. They probably spent $6,000 a person to bring us here, but my paycheck from them was, hey, here's a bunch of free hunting gear. So all my trips, everything I did was like self-funded,
Yeah.
and I was, I sold a couple of shirts here and there, but I was no Ranger up, and so I was trying to make it by off of $1,100 a month in disability.
That's nuts, though. Like they don't want to pay you to do all this stuff.
They give you
But I'm saying, like, isn't it worth their while to have you
have
as
it
an employee
continuing,
or a
yeah.
contractor or something?
So for some of them, yes, but you have so many people who are willing to, hey,
Fight for that
I'm
role.
going on this $10,000 hunt. It's a guaranteed monster of a kill.
Yep.
Send me a bow.
Yep.
Give me a free backpack. Whatever it is. Like that's usually, you can't really compete with that. And there's so many people that are willing to do it for free in exchange for the experience of it.
Yep.
That it doesn't matter. They hope that they're going to grow their way up in the company, but most just fizzle out.
So number one salesman, essentially,
Yeah.
and you say this isn't good enough.
No.
Where do we go?
So I was having a couple glasses of scotch with my buddy of mine, who was the local NRA chapter president, but he also did commercial real estate. And he was like, oh, I just sold this $30 million hospital building for Kaiser, and I made 10% on it. I said, no, you didn't. And then he pulls the check out, the commission check out, and I'm like,
Damn.
how do I do that? Like right away, like, how do I do that?
Yeah, how do I do that?
And do you think I can do that?
Why am I running a marketing company? Fuck.
So he kind of points me in the direction. I have a long talk with him. I call him up, and I'm like, hey, his name is Steve. And I was like, hey, Steve, do you think I can do real estate? He's like, dude, you do great. He's like, you're great at the seminars. You're great talking to people. Like, you'd kill it. I said, okay. So I started calling around to all like the local real estate schools and real estate agencies and stuff there. And the Keller Williams and Norco, I get a hold of the broker who also teaches the school. Old Army Vietnam vet. We kind of get along right away, start going to his schools. And like, I had to take a break in between because I had a trip to Africa that I went on.
Life's hard.
Yeah, it is. It's difficult, man.
I like how you're like they weren't giving me anything. It was hard to make ends meet. I went on this great trip to Africa for a long period of time.
Oh yeah. No, it was great.
What'd you get in Africa?
So we did planes.
Don't tell me something sad like an elephant.
No. So
because we'll be like, bro,
we'll have to.
Yeah.
We'll cut the
come on,
podcast.
bro. You don't need to shoot an elephant.
Funny enough, I've been around when one was hunted, and it was that specific one being hunted because in the last previous month it had killed 15 villagers at that watering hole.
I'm totally fine with that. If the
9
thing
times
starts,
out of 10, that's how they're picked like that. Like I know a guy who dropped $400K for a black rhino tag in Namibia. But this black rhino was, hang on, listen to the story. The black rhino is sterile, but he's the oldest, most mature bull in the area, and he has killed 5 other younger bulls.
all right.
So he is
I'll allow it.
so he's a detriment to his own species.
Yeah.
And it's situations like that it's like, okay, but we don't need to put that on TV. We don't need to do
No.
that part,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, if you shoot an elephant or a rhino, even if there's a good reason, do me a favor, don't post it on the gram. Because no one's gonna be like, "Oh, that's cool,
job,
bro.
dude."
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. Take that elephant out."
Even with bears, man, I can't tell you how many people have told me like, "Oh, I'm gonna come skin your dog." I'm like,
What?
bro, there's a
What?
big difference between a black bear and my dog. Like, come on.
Yeah, like hundreds of pounds.
Yeah, well, it's that same black bear. So we're gonna soapbox here for a minute. So
At some point, we're gonna have to talk about business.
yes,
I know.
animals in the wild don't die peacefully, and it's we personify them so much, like Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears. The truth of the story is, a male black bear comes across a sow with cubs. Even if they're his cubs, he's killing them because it makes her go back into heat. Even if they're his cubs, he'll kill her if she tries to protect him. They don't live together. They don't coincide. When they're 2 years old, she says, "Get out of here or I will kill you." And so it's not, there's no, I'm going to lay peacefully in my cave and this is how I'm going to pass in life for bears or any of these animals out there.
Yeah, they die like in hunger or, because
Yeah.
they can't
Violently.
they can't catch
Yeah.
anything or something else kills
Yeah,
them.
so-
that's the way nature is for literally every species except for us.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And dogs.
So, right. So now we're back to business. So I get my real estate license, and I had been living in my mom's camper in her driveway.
Nice.
And I'd been living off of like $1,100 a month from the VA. I had about $10 left because I had to pay for my state licensing, had to pay for the schools, pay for everything else. I had to drive into LA to take the real estate test. It's supposed to be a 3-hour test. On like 30 minutes into it, I'm like 10 questions away from the end, and I see the guy next to me is like 80 questions behind me. I'm like, oh, I failed this. I bombed this. So they give you your results stapled together, and they say you're not allowed to open it inside the building. Well, as soon as I get in the elevator, I rip it open.
course,
It turns out
yeah.
I passed. And so I was...
Like, what, did you really pass, or was it like...
So they don't tell you how well you pass.
Oh, okay.
So
That sucks.
whether you win by one
That sucks.
or like
Just need to
max it
know.
out, it doesn't. They don't care. They got their money from you. It's the state. So I immediately have my license. It's 8:30 in the morning. I'm like, okay, I got to go to work. Like, I got no money. I'm putting $10 in my car in gas, and like that's my driving around money. So I had been coming into, I had a really great mentor and team leader for that office. The team leaders are like the CEOs of each of the offices, but in KW we call them team leaders. I had a really great team leader in that office who really took time to like work with me and coach me in what sales is and how to get and steer conversations the way you want them to go. Which, I mean, there's a whole art to that. It's not as simple as people think. People like to,
I do not have that art.
yeah, it's okay. Not everybody does.
I try to cut to the chase as quickly as possible. Like, what is it that you need from me?
See, but that's the right question. The wrong question that you get from a lot of people time is, would you like to hire us? That's a yes/no question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, Susie, you're walking around Target or whatever English store you like to shop in.
Some kind of garbage English store.
Yeah. And an employee comes up and says, "Can I help you?" What's your knee-jerk reaction?
Definitely say no.
Yeah,
I'm very
and then-
British.
And
Do
even
not
if,
interrupt
even
me.
if you are
No.
struggling to find something,
No.
yeah, it's the same way. 90% of people are the same way. If you give them an opportunity to say no, they say no.
Exactly. That's why there's self-checkouts are always busy.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to talk to a human. Just like, I don't need your help.
I just want to chime in, and then I want to let you guys continue talking. You know how they always say guys won't ask for directions? That is not me. If I am lost, I'm like, hey, I would like to know where I am. Suze is like, don't you dare ask
Don't
for
you
help.
ask.
We'll figure it out ourselves.
We are not failing on this
meanwhile,
mission.
like, we're out of fuel and water, and like, one of the kids is like on the brink of death, and she's like, don't ask anyone.
So you're an infantry officer, right, Nick?
I was.
So getting lost,
So
quite
I got to tell
quite a big
you,
habit.
I was good at land nav. I never had any issues. I'm sorry that I didn't live up to the stereotype. I will tell you that one time I was lost, didn't realize it, but like randomly ended up in the right place, and that was the closest I ever came to an embarrassing moment. But it was like I thought I was at this other place, and then we we're pursuing someone. This was all like training, not like not actual war. And then it was like, are you at this checkpoint? And like I then realized like, oh shit, like I had happened upon it. I was like, yeah, I'm there, but I thought I was like, a click past that.
Yeah.
So this was all mounted, so it happens fast.
It's like a pattern for your life, almost. It's like,
What are you saying?
shit, here I am, home.
That's one of the things that it's the number one thing I teach people now. I have agents that work for me now, and like the number one thing I ask them, and I listen to them when they're on the phones and stuff. They're calling people if they ask a yes no question, like it's if they do 4 of them in a row in one conversation, they lose leads for a day. Like they can't talk to anybody for a day.
Wow.
You got to go
Don't get to talk to
retrain. You got to figure it back out.
Have you considered hitting them with a reed?
I know.
So one of them
Watergun.
that works for me is a vet, and yes, she's older and she was Air Force though, so no.
Yeah.
I don't think it would go over well.
Yeah. Well, so hey, independent contractor. There's no HR. We'd be okay.
I don't think so.
New office method.
But so I got my real estate license, and I'd been working with Brian, who's my mentor. I worked with him a lot, and so I sat down and I started calling all these people who were listed as for sale by owner. They want to sell their house, but they don't want to use an agent, which dumbest thing you could ever do. An agent provides you legal cover that attorney can't, because most attorneys are not licensed real estate agents, depending on what state you're in. And so I call this one, and it's $2.5 million. And I've never even been inside a $750,000 house, but it's a $2.5 million house. I'm like, whatever. I'm calling everybody. I got no money. I got nothing to lose. I've been trying to impress chicks with my mom's camper in the driveway. Like, this isn't going well for me. I got to figure something out here. And the guy agrees to an appointment. And I immediately am like, get off the phone. I'm like, because I had always told Brian, I was like, what do I do once I set the appointment? He's like, well, once you have an appointment, that's what we'll talk about. So like, I go like,
You don't even know.
I'm like, Brian, I need help. And so I tell him, and he's like, nah, you're lying. I said, no, dude, I'm serious. So we spend 3 hours walking around the office, role playing these different questions. Yes, no, how to, kind of pin it down to get the contract. And I go on the appointment after that. And so I pull up to this house. And it's this big, square Spanish hacienda style house. And I noticed the first thing right out the gate is there's a ship's keel hanging by chains over the front doors. And there's 2 cannons next to the front doors, like facing out.
Are these functioning cannons?
I didn't know at the time, knowing what I know now.
Possible?
Probably. Yeah. So I knock on the door. I meet the guy, and he gives me a tour of this house. I call this house the Pirate House. I will show you pictures. One of the guest bedrooms, so the guy was an electrical engineer, worked in the movies. And the entire decor of the entire house is props from every pirate movie he ever worked on.
That's
in
amazing.
Hollywood.
That's awesome. Amazing. And he couldn't sell the house.
So the guest house, they had to knock out one of the walls and custom rebuild it to have the stained glass panels from Hook's Captain from the movie.
Oh my God!
Yes. I'm willing to pay a lot more than that for this house. Like, I want this house.
So it gets better. So in this room, there's also Captain Hook's floating bed, like from chains from the ceilings, his desk, everything. This is all the props for Hook.
So why is he trying to sell this house?
They were looking to move to New Zealand. And this was where when all the stuff in the Ukraine was really popping off, and that's where his wife was from.
Okay.
And so they were going to use the money from selling the house to get her family out of the Ukraine, and they were all going to move to New Zealand.
So these are like really good people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is like a good human being.
Oh yeah. Little weird, but like a good guy.
Yeah, he's a pirate.
Yeah,
he probably has a peg leg.
So
probably amputated a leg just so he could have a peg leg.
No, so the bar in there is all wood ceilings, and there's a rope with a wooden pirate coming down the rope into the middle of the bar.
This is impressive.
I really want this house.
What were you thinking when you first entered the house? Like, I can't think of the words. that I would.
Did you make any arg jokes?
No, because he didn't like that. Like, he didn't want me calling it the Pirate House and any of the marketing or like any of that. He didn't want me to talk about it.
The pictures speak for themselves. Yeah.
Hey, well, so that was the whole thing. The only room that was modern was the master bedroom, and it was all modern stuff. Their shower and their master bathroom was one of the like super modern space shuttle European style showers.
Did you hear about the guy that used to chase Smurfs as a pirate?
No.
Argamel. I'm sorry, I had to do it. I apologize. I'm sorry.
No, that was good.
It wasn't. It was terrible.
So I get through touring this house with this guy, and then he's like, okay, and there's one more thing, but I'm not going to show it to you.
We've got a dungeon.
We have a private escape room that no one's allowed to know. The buyer can't even know about it until after we close.
Surprise!
It was super easy to find. They had a 1,200 bottle wine cellar and he used to be a magician at the Magic Castle.
Oh my god!
And
I really want to meet this guy.
Can we have this man on the podcast, please?
Forget about Steve LeNoir. Can we get the guy that owned that house onto this podcast?
No.
Because holy shit!
No, you can't.
Why? Because you
he's in New Zealand now.
No, he had stomach cancer.
Okay, way to bring it down.
Sorry.
Steve, you lie to me, Steve. Lie.
Yeah, we'll try. He used to perform seances. We might be able to reach him. But he did at the back of the wine cellar. He had this big area that was always made up, and he would do seances there.
Right.
And then he had.
Sorry,
this is the weirdest podcast we've done yet. And we haven't even started talking about Steve's business.
No.
Steven's business. He doesn't like to be called Steve.
We jumped from the escape room thing to the seance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the escape room was in the seance room.
Okay.
So are we going to sell this house?
So I had the listing for. He gave it to me for 30 days at first, and I brought probably about 50 to 100 agents through it. We were overpriced. We were priced at $2.5 million. We probably need to be priced around 1.9. I told him we needed to get rid of the pirate stuff in order to sell it. Because once here's the thing.
Oh, God. California sucks.
Once you get rid of the pirate stuff and you actually look at the house, it's very dated, hasn't been updated.
Yeah.
Like the value's not there.
It's hidden behind.
Yeah, when you start looking at the comparables and stuff. But
how many bedrooms did it have?
7.
Whoa!
And none of them were connected. So it was the Spanish hacienda style. There was no interior hallways.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you had to walk out into the covered courtyard and stuff. And it was amazing. They had their own private observatory even.
I want this
Nice.
house.
Like
I
NASA.
really want this house.
Yeah, hey,
I really,
I could help you
Someone
buy
has
it.
it.
I don't want to move to California.
You don't have to. It'd be you open it up as, or you lease it. Here's the deal I tried to make. I tried to get one of the wineries in Temecula, which is about an hour away, to lease it.
Oh, this is
remote,
near Slow.
No.
You're not far from Slow. Then.
Inland, a lot more inland.
Okay, all right.
But I tried to get someone to like lease it and use it as a remote wine tasting area for Riverside area. But that didn't happen. But we did end up selling it. We got it sold for like $1.98 million. Mm-hmm. And so I went from having like no money to, hey, here's almost $60,000 in commission.
Nice.
And I immediately was like, okay, I'm not going to go buy a car. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to get an apartment. I'm going to, try to stay low. And so that was the first deal I ever did.
As a Cav Scout.
Yeah.
That's the decision you made?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
It is because
hey. I'm just happy you didn't marry a stripper and buy a Mustang,
that's no, I've never owned a Mustang. Thank God.
Please note, he didn't say anything about marrying a stripper.
No, I've never married. No, I never married an active stripper. I did have a first wife though. That's part of being in the Army, right? You got to get at least one. So from there, I started doing really well. I reached out to a lot of other veterans and was like, "Hey, I'm a vet, just got licensed. I'm looking for people to help." And guy reached back out and was like, "Hey, I've got this townhouse. We want to sell it and everything." So the second deal I ever did. So it just kind of snowballed, and then about 6 months into it. I had started in July of that year, and even starting behind the curve, I beat out like 15 other new agents, and I was rookie of the year, made more money.
Nice.
Another person just died.
And
It's the circle of life in Durham. It's
Yeah.
the circle of life. You move to Durham, you die. That's what happens.
so in May of the following year, my buddy comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm going to go back into production, and I'm going to work with my wife down in Temecula. I'm not going to be here anymore. This is going to be the new team leader." And I didn't have anything personally against the new team leader. It just wasn't my style.
Yeah.
And I had already been kind of starting to look like, all right, I want to make more money, but I don't want to work harder. If that sounds, it makes sense, right?
Sounds wise.
It's very
yes.
Cav.
So, so I started. I went and interviewed at a couple other Keller Williams offices, Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, like the Orange County area. Like, raised my average price point from 500 to 1.1 million.
Yeah.
Then I'm making 30 grand a check. Like, that's not bad. So I end up meeting with the team leader for the Newport Beach office, and we have a couple meetings and everything. And he's like, "Hey, you know what? We're actually getting ready to launch another Keller Williams office in Costa Mesa. I'm going to put a team there, and I think would you be interested in running it?"
Oh, nice.
And so I was like, "Yeah, I've been doing this for about a year and a half now. I'd made okay money, paid off a lot of my debt, paid off a lot of my expenses and stuff, and just try to keep everything low."
Were you in an apartment at this point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was for a little bit. Yeah. And so I started working out of, we launched Keller Williams Costa Mesa, and we took that we had subleased a bank office building, and it was me and like 3 other people in the entire office with like a hotspot for internet. Like, it was nothing. It didn't look like a real estate office at all. Like, no one was even supposed to know we're there. And we grew it to about 65 agents in 6 months, and we took 25% of the local market share within that same amount of time.
So talk about that, because this is now the first time that you've started things for yourself, but this is the first time you've started an org.
Right.
So talk about how you did that.
So the deal I had with my partner at the time, and this worked out really well for us at the time. He was the money, I was the coaching, the recruiting, and the growth, and the sales. Like, it was my job to still sell houses too. And so I quickly started looking for newer agents who didn't have mistakes or bad habits like already ingrained into them. Because, if you're sitting in a real estate office and you're talking about back in the day when they used to have to come to us because we had the book of listings.
Yeah.
Like,
Bro, I don't care.
You're not
Yeah.
on my
Like,
team.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care.
what's the Facebook? How do I set up a page? Like, nah, bro,
Sorry.
this is not the right place for you.
So incident, just chiming in a little bit, like, I have found over the years that anything that I do, it's not about age, but like people that are unwilling to change
Yes.
are useless.
Yeah, they make the choices to seem more ignorant than they are.
Yeah.
That's what I run into a lot of.
You have to, like, no matter how much experience you have, you really have to approach everything like, maybe there's a better way to do this.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the biggest dangerous points in a business is when you have had success for a little while, not being willing to change because you're afraid to come off of the thing that has worked for you.
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of businesses fail doing that. And anytime where I feel like we've really gotten in any trouble in any of the companies I've owned, it's because we stayed with something longer than
Too
it
long.
really was
Yep.
still working.
Yep. And you'll see right now the average age of a real estate agent is like 64 across the country. The next 5 years it's going to get cut in half.
Steven, are you going to start killing real estate agents?
No. Zillow's doing that for me.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where technology isn't an option in business anymore. In any business that you're in, technology is not an option. I don't care what it is that you do. And so, for you to be like, well, I don't like Facebook because it's this, and this. Okay, great. Name a better source to reach your clients.
Yeah.
Well, okay, great. Go on YouTube. Start doing videos. Video marketing does better anyways. Why not do videos? I don't have time for that. Okay. Cool, man. How many houses did you sell last year? 3. All right. So you made $9,000? Yeah. Okay. I've had agents come to me crying because their husband asked them, like, when are you going to stop this hobby? It's expensive. Because you got to pay for your licenses. You got to pay. You got office fees monthly. You know, you got to pay for your marketing, pay for signs. It's not a cheap business to be in.
So how did you go from 0 to 65 agents? Like how does one do that?
So we started out recruiting newer agents first, and we actually opened our own real estate school so we could actually have a constant supply of brand new agents coming in. And then we also went around. I had help from our number one competitor, Valerie. If you hear this, I miss you.
Thank you, Valerie.
Valerie!
So we called Valerie when we were getting ready to open it up. She was the number one in market share for the local area, local mom and pop shop, not attached to a big franchise or anything. And we said, hey, we're opening up. Our agents are going to do business together. Let's go to lunch. Let's hang out. Who the fuck do you think you are?
Oh, Valerie. Woo!
I'm about to get on a plane to Italy. How many times have you been to Europe this year?
Wow.
And so once we got off the phone,
Valerie.
once we
You
got
were like, Valerie, I'm going to destroy you.
No, I didn't even say that. Once she hung up on us, and I was just like, all right, so those neighborhoods
on.
first.
Yeah.
And we were taking so many agents and business away from her. Any piece of marketing we would send out, she'd find a way to get a hold of it, and she would just immediately send it into the board to see if there's violations. Everything. I would get a letter every month of like, hey, here's the new things we looked at. You're good. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm good. We pay somebody for that.
Fucking Valerie.
So
You sure her name wasn't Karen?
I'm sure it should have been.
Valerie Karanowski?
But she had burned and pissed off so many other people. We had 7 mom and pop brokerages when we were like, hey, yeah, we're taking her down. They're like, okay,
We will
we're in.
help.
So they'd come in like 5 or 6 at a time. They'd join, they'd bring all their agents, like 5 or 6 agents at a time over to us.
So they joined you.
Yeah. They would come.
Nice.
So it's cheaper for us too. It's cheaper for a brokerage too. Like realistically, because I could go start my own brokerage and I'd make a little bit more money, possibly. Now I got to find a place to rent. I got to pay insurance. I got to pay an internet bill. I got to pay utilities. I got to pay like the bills add up.
This
fast.
brings up an interesting question. So a lot of veterans, a lot of people in general, like we have a lot of, I say veterans because you're a veteran. I got sucked into the vortex, but a lot of our clients aren't veterans. A lot of the people that come on the show aren't veterans, but a lot of people in general are torn between franchise or starting their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've never done a franchise. I know that franchise success rates are far higher.
Yeah.
I know that figuring out how to run your own thing is really fucking hard.
And expensive.
The mistakes are expensive.
In both, financially and not financially.
So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I have a cost of education that I talk about with all my new agents and stuff, and even my current agents when they, seem to forget. So cost of education for me, right? Some of them goes to college, they've got student loans, they got everything else. My cost of education is every deal I've missed, every deal I've blown up, and I'm telling you right now, I probably have an extra $10 million in the bank if.
Sure. Yeah, but everybody can say that about anything.
It is, but you have to be able to pinpoint what it was in those situations that caused that, and there's your education.
Definitely.
There's your experience. That's what it is. Yeah. And if you focus in on that, okay, great. Next time I go in, this is what they did. This is how it happened. They were this kind of a personality. I thought they were this kind of personality, and we just butted heads. Instead, I need to be able to, match and.
Organizationally, how do you do that? So, like I say, like I generally will tell people, nobody hates me more than me, because everything that I do, I look at and say, how did I screw this up? How could I have done this better? And we, Suze, Albert, and I try to do that organizationally.
Yeah.
Even when we're winning, like right now, I would say that as an organization, we're winning.
Right.
But there have been lots of things where we're like, man, this could have gone better, or this worked and we made everyone happy, but we came like one prop away from a disaster or one actor away from a disaster because we forgot X, Y, or Z. How do you approach that?
So it's the same. It's funny enough. I steal from the Army. We do an after-action review, right? So my agents, if they're brand new to the team, I go with them on their first 3 appointments, and I will sit there quietly and chime in when I need to and take over if I need to save the deal. But then immediately, as soon as we walk out the door, we're standing out on the sidewalk, and I ask them, "Okay, great, how'd that go? What could you have done better? What if you had said this instead of that? Did you notice that the wife was saying this, but the husband was saying this? And you notice that, hey, look, the wife's actually more of the decision maker than the husband is. The husband's just chiming in because they want to chime in. It's a conversation. And that's how we do it. We take notes.
How do you know somebody sucks based off of that AAR?
So it's.
I have my answer. I want to hear your answer.
I look for effort to take the knowledge and grow from it. If they're like, that just sucked, and that's the same answer that you get 5-6 deals later. A, that's my money that they just lost, and B, like you're not putting in the work. This isn't the right place for you. It's not.
For me, it's if they're always defensive.
Yeah.
About what just went down, like, hey, you need to have a blue bucket or we fail, and they show up without a blue bucket, and it's like, hey, where's the blue bucket? Well, I forgot the bucket, but my dog was sick, and I was tired, and my girlfriend just dumped me. Like, bro, I don't give a shit. Where's the blue fucking bucket?
Yeah.
And like, so like people that accept responsibility, I'm a huge fan of. You can work with that, and like people that want to change.
Yeah.
But people that always have an excuse for why they didn't come through, like I know will ultimately fail.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and in real estate it's super easy because there's no checks in real estate. Unless you're selling houses, there's no checks. It's not like, car dealerships, they'll give you some money and it's that you're 100% commission and that's it. So if you're not selling houses, you're spending money, not making it.
Yeah, I actually think that it's such an important point of like responsibility. Like I put that on my kids on everything. Like if one of my kids has a bad sporting event and they say something like, well, I wasn't feeling well. I'm like, no. You don't get to say that. Nope. Like they were the better team or they were the better opponent or they were the
or admit that you missed it.
It's completely on you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No matter what. Like I've competed sick, I've competed hurt, all those things. Like it's still on you, and that's such an important life lesson that when you own your failures, you get to own your successes.
And you can have so my wife, she likes to tell me I have like hyper responsibility. So even if I do nothing wrong, but the deal still blows up or something happens or whatever, I'm like, okay, what could I have done? I'm the guy that gets rear-ended and be like, how could I have not been there? And gotten rear-ended.
Could I have drifted?
Yeah. So I don't have a Mustang, so no. The answer is no.
Could I have slid under that tractor trailer truck the way they did in Fast and Furious 7?
No, the answer is no to all of those questions. But that's really what it is. And I look for people that are open to learning. That's the biggest part. I've had 3 of my agents so far this year. They've made over $100,000. Since January.
But there was a period of time. So right now we're making it sound like you've only done real estate, but that's not true at all.
Yeah.
Can we talk for a moment before we leave California real estate? Let's talk about
the Lamborghini story.
Let's talk about the goddamn Lamborghini story in Abu Dhabi. Okay,
so we were based out of Newport Beach. There's a lot of foreign money that gets invested there for beach houses. So I sold a house. My buyer, we negotiated against the basis from Green Day. They wanted 3.7 for their beach house. I got it for 3.1 for my client, and I got it in the newspaper.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Green Day sucks.
No, they don't.
I don't care what anybody says. Like they're anti-American propaganda.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of Green Day.
Yeah.
And I've said it. I know you like Green Day.
I'm a huge fan of Green Day.
Of course, because you're from England.
Yeah, you're anti-American. It's right out the gate. It's in your blood.
You want to dominate America.
Yeah.
But you can't.
Yep, we're just we're more stubborn than the Welsh.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Although we have created a phrase, he hits like a Welshman, which I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the Welsh, but it sounds funny. Like
I've got a buddy of mine that is in the Royal Air Force in England, and anytime I want to mess with him, I'd be like, man, what's Wales like? What's it like there? What was it like growing up there? He gets so mad because he hates the Welsh so much.
Her sister's husband was RAF for a long time.
Okay.
Did I say that correctly?
Yeah. The RAF. RAF. Yep.
Yeah.
RAF.
Yep.
Red Arrows.
Well, yeah. So with being in Newport Beach and all the foreign money coming in, I was like, hey, I went through the Defense Language Institute. I learned a little bit of Dari.
I mean, you're basically fluent.
Basically, but hey, I scored a 1. Okay, out of on a scale of 0 to 4, and four is like philosophical. There was only one person who
Oh,
scored
it
it.
goes to 5.
Does it? No,
It goes to 5.
maybe now. I don't know.
His book.
It goes to 5.
But there was only one guy who scored a 2 in our entire class, and he studied Arabic in college before he joined the army.
Yeah.
Okay, so one's reasonable.
One is like
Yeah.
conversation.
I
like somewhat.
studied Arabic in college, and
Yeah.
my Arabic is so terrible. But there's one Arabic phrase that I absolutely love. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Fuck it, shitty. It means
Such a child.
It means it's only winter.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So mine is for Dari. Check it, paz, but Dari man. What's up, my brother?
amazing.
Yep. Hey, yeah. 10 years later, that's the only out of everything, out of all the books and everything I still have, that's what I remember the most. So I was like, okay, there's a Keller Williams office in Dubai. Like, I guarantee you, if we spend the money and we fly there, we meet with them, break bread with them, hang out. Anytime that they have a client that's looking to buy in California, I'm gonna get that phone call. Yeah. And so, but before that trip even happened, we had a guy come down as a referral. He came to my partner who handed it off to me, looking to spend 12 to 15 million on a beach house. Wanted like a baller beach house, and so we knew he was coming in. We picked him up at LAX airport in a Lamborghini that I had rented for the day.
What color?
Lime green.
Nice.
Yes.
You're not missing that.
Yeah. So we had a Yukon for all of his luggage. All his luggage went in there. He got in the Lamborghini, and we drove to the house he wanted to look at. We had narrowed it down to one house before he got in, and we had paid a bunch of Instagram hoes and a DJ and a taco guy, and that place was banging.
Oh, wow.
And that guy pulled up, and like immediately as he got out of the Lamborghini, I was like, "This is it. This is the party for you. This is the house." We made it in the front door, and he's like, "Done."
Nice.
Done.
Damn.
That is a baller move.
What were you feeling inside, like in the Lamborghini? I want to know, like.
Spend? I'm sorry.
No, I just want to know what, like, internally.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
No, so I have this really bad complex from being a cavalry scout.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, I'll slay that dragon.
I've got this.
Yeah, like I don't care. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Nobody's gonna come out here and fucking smoke me.
Yeah.
Like what's gonna happen? And so it's that, and that's kind of how I've looked at a lot of my businesses, good or bad. I've always been like, fuck it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And so it was great. But to answer your question, we spent about $4,000.
I mean, that's not bad though.
That's
No.
not good.
That's actually nothing.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
what was the commission on that house?
3%. So
Yeah.
400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's a good investment. 1%.
Yeah, we're okay.
But I actually do want to talk about this though, because the little things make a huge difference.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, a much smaller story.
Yeah.
How I got Range 15 in Maxim magazine.
Okay.
I sent like a Foot Locker that, like a World War II Foot Locker that we put like Ranger Up gear and Article 15 gear and all this stuff, and there were we did a photo shoot where we had like all these pictures of like pinup, like World War II style pinups on the back of it. And this, like, I mailed, like, I mean, it cost me a small fortune, like over $1,000 to do this.
Yeah.
With no like guarantee that any of it would work.
Right.
But, like, it was so ridiculous, and everybody else was sending pitches, and I sent like,
You can't ignore it.
here you cannot
You
ignore
can't
it.
ignore
It's sitting in the office, and it's way over the top. And that got us like essentially a 4-page spread in the magazine, which significantly helped sales.
Yeah.
I try to do that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And we had a guest on recently, Jason Van Camp from Mission 60, who went way farther than I would ever go.
I heard about that. I listened to that one today.
And flashbanged the New York Jets and zip stripped Rex Ryan in order to make an impression. But they did. But like those little things that most people are unwilling or too lazy to do.
100%.
Like that seems to be what you do.
So absolutely. And so, I mean, it was like, it's like with this podcast, right? So, Albert hit me up about it and was like, hey, you know.
Like how Albert hit you up and then just doesn't show?
Yeah, that's okay.
Because he's too
Sorry.
tired from
Sorry,
the
you got
10-40-10
me.
workout.
He knows I'm taller than him. That's why. No, I'm not taller than Albert. But you know, he was like, oh, you can do it from your house. I'm like, nah, I'll come up. That's not, you know, that's not a problem. I would always rather overcommit. So I have another story for that once I've started real estate back in Georgia. But
Before we hit Georgia, so you are making serious bank in California.
yeah.
And then you decide to do what?
So first, through a lender that I was working with at the time, she told me, she's like, hey, there's this agent that wants to leave RE/MAX and is looking for a team to work under. You should give him a call. So I called, and this lady answered, and I called her apparently in the middle of moving into an apartment, and she's like, hey, I'll call you back later. Called me back later. I set up an interview for Monday. Comes in for the interview. I didn't know this at the time. Didn't think this at the time. That was the first time I ever met my wife. So she ended up leaving RE/MAX, coming to work for me for about 2.5, 3 months. We avoided it. We worked together, but we avoided each other like the plague because there's a lot of fooling around that goes on in real estate. It is what it is.
Oh, I need to know now.
The wild west of real estate is not something I expected to hear about.
Oh, bro.
We need like a mockumentary on real estate.
I can't tell you how many secretaries have become wives to ex-wives. I mean, like quickly.
Juicy.
And we're in Orange County, divorce capital of the world. I think.
Could this be a show? Could we sell this as a show?
I want to see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Easily.
The realtor housewives of California.
Don't even.
You're welcome.
So, so after 2.5 months, we finally were like, okay, we can't tell anybody else that we're dating, but we're dating now. So I was still living. I had moved back into the camper in my mom's house.
Nice.
So I could save.
No, you have
Yeah.
I
So
like
I could
that.
save.
No, you have not.
Yeah, I was saving money. This is before I made all the real money. She was one of the first people that we recruited.
All right. I'm like, damn.
So I'm like saving all my money because
Like you're talking about like
yeah.
$400,000 deals, renting Lambos, and you're like, so I'm living in a camper.
No, this was before all that. But I still had hunting trips I wanted to go on and pay for. So like,
Priorities.
instead of getting an apartment, like, why don't I go elk hunting?
All right.
Why don't I go to
You're
Alaska?
like, I've got the lady now.
So
My
you've got
camper's
the
good
lady.
enough.
Yeah.
You're in California.
Yeah.
We need to fast forward because
We're running out of
Sir,
time.
we haven't even started. We've been going for some time.
Hey,
now.
I warned you. So 6 months later, the owner of the team and I, my partner and I, we had kind of started to have a bit of a rift about the way that we treated people and partners and stuff like that.
Okay.
I decided to take a step back out of it. I'd always had a goal of moving back to Georgia. So that, fall, I had brought Jennifer out here for my dad's wedding at Stone Mountain in Georgia. And I took her bow hunting for the first time, and she fell in love with it. We ran into a pack of wild pigs. She missed a buck. I didn't see any deer. She missed a buck right over his back at 29 yards. She has more luck when it comes to hunting and archery than I ever have. So she falls in love with it. We get back, and I say, "Would you move there?" Mind you, it's not just Jennifer. Who's now my stepson with her too. And she's like, "Yeah, no, a few more years of us doing this, and let's move to Georgia. We can buy whatever house we want. Let's go." So I start planning on how to build a team in Athens, Georgia, at the Keller Williams office there. We move out. We come out here. We see and we find a farm that's for sale, and it's in the middle of nowhere, 12,000 acres of timberland, hour outside of anything, 45 minutes to the grocery store, middle of nowhere. And we get back to California. We write an offer.
Is this in Athens proper?
No, south of Athens.
Where? My best friend from West Point grew up in Athens, so I've been there a lot.
So Greene County, down near Greensboro.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So we were about 30 minutes south of there. We took our kid to jiu-jitsu up in Athens, though, with the Singer brothers.
All right.
They were his coaches, yeah.
Adam
and Rory, yeah. Super cool people, super great people.
You should know that Suze is a passionate jiu-jitsu player.
Okay.
And I am a jiu-jitsu player because I am no longer athletic enough to wrestle.
I just want to correct you. I don't play.
So, so we started raising. We're doing real estate out there. Some things went sideways with the team I was starting, and I was like, "Fuck it, I don't want to do it anymore, anyways." I'm just going to go ahead and retire. So for the third time in my life at 27, I retired. and just kind of kick back for a little bit.
I still haven't had my first retirement yet, so I'm a little envious.
Bro,
We've had 3.
Hey, it's, so we started out with chickens, and
It's the natural progression.
hey, dude. So we went from like 50 chickens to, at one point, we had 2,000 poultry. We had chickens, turkey, ducks, quail.
That's too many.
Dude, I loved my ducks, man. My ducks were awesome. They were free range all over the front 5 acres.
Did you kill the ducks, or was it
Yeah.
for duck eggs?
No, both.
Both.
We had some we raised. I had one.
See, I feel like I could kill chickens without any problem.
Yeah.
But I'd feel bad about the ducks.
Some of them. So I'll give you.
But they're delicious.
Geese, on the other hand.
Yeah, no, it's open
Nothing-
season.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, it's a personal thing. Nothing pisses me off more than geese that bow up on you.
Yeah.
Because like I'm like people run away from them. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing running away from this shitty tiny?
Yeah.
Like I want to kick it,
Yeah,
but I
geese are
know that
bastards.
if I kill it by accident when I kick it, that someone's gonna be like, he attacked a
Yeah.
goose. You know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like I'm not backing off
Yeah.
from a goose.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just not doing it.
I
I'm just
killed a
telling you
goose
right
on the
now.
highway with a Suburban.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not the
Okay.
same. I was picturing like I wanted you to like stop the Suburban, get out, and just be like
Reverse.
Back in England, we grew up by strangling geese. That's how that was.
Wow.
That's when you turned 12. You had to do that.
You want to eat, love?
Yeah.
Kill this
Go
goose
catch
with
it.
your bare
Here's your
hands.
Christmas goose, eh?
Goosey goosey gander.
If you're not a wank, you're a mank.
Oh, stop. Yeah, don't. Jeez.
Anywho,
So we had all that, and then we had my wife had been volunteering at a horse rescue out in California, so we brought 4 of them with us.
didn't you lose a horse?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hear
Do you want
more.
to talk about that?
Wait.
We're now in my dream scenario of owning lots of animals. So carry on. I want to hear everything.
So let me tell you this: a celebrity level cocaine habit is cheaper than owning a single horse. At one point, we had 6. I spent $1,900 a month on hay.
I can grow hay.
And then we had good luck. We had, and then we started raising registered Scotch Island cows, the long fluffy haired cows from Scotland. Yeah.
Oh, the Highland cattle.
Yep, that's what we
Beautiful.
raised.
I just want you to know that this was perfect. This was perfect because there was my daughter rides and Sue's rides some. And there was a horse that had like a bone spur growing out of its face or something.
Yep.
And they were like, hey, we're either going to put this down or we'll give it to you if you want to take care of it. And she was like, oh, they're giving us a horse. I was like, no.
They're giving you a bill.
Yeah.
They're giving
I
you
was
a
like,
bill.
I do not want a horse. And it's one of, I don't, like, I'm not like a put your foot, like, Suze can do whatever she wants.
Right.
I don't care. But like, I specifically was
That
like,
about
look,
that, yes.
look, I get 3 of these in our marriage and like, I'm
This
using
is
one
one
now.
right now, yeah.
I do not fucking want to own a horse.
So so we had horses. I had an old Cremella horse that I named Attila. All Cremella is white, all white horse. So Attila was like an apt name for him. Who loved to fuck up cows. So when the cows would get out and he'd hear me cussing from the barn coming with his saddle, he's at the gate like, oh yeah,
I am ready.
Here we go. So we're going back in the woods. We're going to get him. And I mean, we're talking about a 1,900-pound bull.
Yeah.
And this dude jacked him up and got him
Nice.
back in the pen. But he actually got bit by a possum and contracted EPM. And we had to put him down.
Damn.
That's a nervous system issue.
Yeah.
So everyone that says, save the possums. Nah, man, turkeys eat more.
I had a Jack Russell that would kill any possum that was
Yeah.
within like 4 miles.
Good.
Like
Yeah.
it'd be like, there's a possum near.
I'll be
and like,
back.
would you like jump the fence, kill it, come back? Like, yeah.
New hat.
All right. I don't know if we've taught anybody anything about business so far. So,
I don't know. It's in there.
all right, there's a farm.
Yeah.
I need you to close this farm.
Yep.
And I need you to get to.
So we did actually. So last summer we sold the farm. My daughter was born April of 2020. Yeah, 2020. And I realized like I had a sawmill, I had a small logging business that I was doing.
These were all things we should have talked about. All right, I want 1 minute on each. You get 1 minute on each thing.
So we built
sawmill. Go.
Sawmill. So I bought a manual sawmill that I would actually cut and mill lumber for other veterans that I'd connected through the Farmer Veteran Coalition, which is a nonprofit that helps educate veterans that are looking at getting into farming. Super great organization. So we all partnered together. Some of us sold beef, some of us sold chicken, some of us sold pork. Like we all worked together.
30
that.
seconds left.
And so we were with the sawmill. I actually there's a brewery in Lincolnton, Georgia called Back Paddle Brewery. I milled the bar
20
top.
seconds.
I milled the bar top for that thing.
That's
and so
awesome.
the whole 20-foot bar top is a blue pine log that I cut and milled down on my property. Super cool. All right, so now I'll just jump into beef. So
Nice. You saved 10 seconds.
there we go. We sold. We started out going to the sale barn, buying cows, having them processed, and then we would keep half and sell the other half. And then we had more and more demand start picking up, so we'd sell them by the half and whole. And then we went and got our labeling license. And so as we started to raise the Highland cattle, and we would cross the Highland with Holsteins because they actually grade better than Black Angus and beef. Don't believe Black Angus is the best meat ever. We were killing it, and through the
Literally and figuratively.
through the jiu-jitsu gym up in Athens, we were selling beef, pork, chicken,
wow.
eggs, everything, because everyone wanted the whole. It was born, raised, butchered, all within an hour of Athens. I didn't play in the grass-fed stuff. My Highlands grain-fed are still leaner than my Black Angus grass-fed.
Interesting.
Yep, so they're better for you. More expensive though.
I just want them to be delicious. I'll
They
be
are,
honest
dude.
with you. Like I don't care.
They are, bro.
Don't feed them other cows, and I'm good with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No mad cow disease, please.
So we had all of that going on, and once my daughter was born, I was like, I gotta slow down. I had a busted up back. Knees aren't what they were. I was getting extremely.
What was your hourly work week at this point?
If the day ended in Y, I woke up before the sun and I passed out somewhere in the yard or in the house after the sun was back down. I can't tell you how many nights I was up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning with sick goats, sick cows, horses, when we had that really bad hurricane come through about a year and a half ago, like I was out in the pasture with the horses, not in the house. My wife was in the house with the kids and the little baby goats.
Yep.
So with having my daughter, that kind of put a new perspective on it. Like, no, I need to enjoy more of my time with them. I need to save my back and my years of being active to be more with them. So we sold the farm and we moved 180 miles to the northwest corner of Georgia, to Rome, Georgia.
Sister city of Rome, Italy.
Yeah, actually. So there's a Capitoline Wolf statue in right in front of City Hall. That was a gift from Mussolini.
No way.
Yeah.
My grandfather knew Mussolini.
Wow.
Yeah. He was in the Italian army.
Oh, wow.
He was just, he was like, low level,
Yeah.
but he was like a guard at one point, like for like at the gates of like a building that Mussolini was in, and so like my grandfathers actually fought each other in World War II.
Yeah.
One was Navy, one was Army.
So leading up to the Korean War, I had family on both sides of every single war, from the French and Indian Wars all the way up.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, so way to top me. I get
Yeah.
it. I'm sorry my grandfather's story wasn't good enough
That's right.
for you,
Fucking A,
Steven.
Fucking A right, Nick.
Classic LeNoir bullshit.
That's right. So when we moved, we went through a terrible time finding a realtor to help us buy a house. I had my license in Georgia, but it wasn't active. It wasn't hung anywhere. I was never planning on getting back into real estate. We went through 9 real estate agents and we fired every single one of them
because you know how to do it.
They were doing it well. They were doing a terrible job. I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm paying cash. This is the house I want.
Oh,
Here,
damn.
give me the contract in the next hour."
So Susan, this is one of the few areas where we're aligned, because in all other areas she wants me to die, but almost no one that I meet in any industry is good at what they do.
Correct.
And when I meet people that are actually good, I'm my claws are like in them. I'm like, I will never let you go.
I want to be your friend.
Because people don't realize like how much everyone sucks.
Yep.
And so like I'm on Twitter all the time, and like everyone on Twitter is like always bitching about their boss and how their boss sucks and how great they are and how hard they work. And I'm like, you probably don't exist. You probably are actually terrible, and that's why like your life is hard.
Yeah.
Because
you're a thief.
People accept mediocre way
this is the best
way
team
too
I've
easily.
ever had.
Yeah.
But it's taken years of like finding the right people and also years of getting good at like knowing what sucks looks like.
Yeah.
To where like you start seeing the signs like, oh,
Yeah,
this person's going to be a problem.
Yep.
Digging that out right now.
Yep. So I just went through that too. We had an agent. She made $20,000 last year.
Yeah.
She joined my team January of this year. Made over $100,000 in the first quarter, and then got her husband to get licensed, and then they left my team.
Yeah.
And they haven't. And I poured like a lot of resources and time and effort and everything into her. And like since they've left, I think they've sold like 4 or 5 houses. But
Exactly.
and then they were close.
And we actually talk about that with, we've had that with staff when it's like, and I was actually going to talk to you about this earlier when you set up your agency is knowing how much information to give them as training. It's like, oh, we're giving them like the trade secrets of what we do.
Yeah, we're giving them too much.
What's the fear of them going off and doing it themselves? And we've had that with employees.
I don't care.
Exactly, that's where we get to, and we've seen it happen every time. They're like, "We can do this better than you." And I'm like, "Okay, go try." And then 6 months of them sitting on Instagram trying to do it themselves. It's like,
So
we see.
Yeah, I'm different, man. Like I don't even care. Like if people want to go do their own thing, I'm actually like, yeah, go do it. Like good for you. I look at like the employment agreement as very simple. I'm gonna hire you to do a job.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try to be the best boss I can.
Yeah.
I have faults, so I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm going to try to be the best boss I can. I'm going to pay you the amount we agreed on, and in return, I expect your best effort.
Right.
As long as we do that,
we're good.
When people leave, like I want to help them. Like,
right.
hey, hey,
and that's
go
that's how it is too. So
go
like,
and do this thing.
So like for us, for like buyers agents on my team, you got like a 2-year at most lifespan on the team because you're gonna outgrow the position.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that. Let's talk about an exit strategy. Let's talk about how we're going to help you be successful. Because if you leave my team and you go make $1 million, that's a reflection on me. You started out learning from me.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
But people, they just don't see it that way, And so, like, I had one agent, my assistant calls me at 8:00 in the morning. They're like, "Hey, where's so and so stuff?" I'm like, "I don't know. Let me call." "Oh, I didn't realize you could be in so early, but I'm going in a different direction." I'm like, okay. Like, we can have a conversation. I have no problem with that,
So to me, that's garbage. Like, I look at, like, what do the best organizations do? And so, like, one of the best organizations in terms of, like, consistently for years that you're going to look at, I'm not a big fan of consultants. Like, I'm not a consultant guy. Like, I actually almost went that path.
Yeah.
But like McKinsey is universally considered,
right?
Like, the number one or number two. Some people will say Bain or BCG consulting firm out there.
Yeah.
If you work for them for 2 years, you always have access to their hiring process. They want to place you because they don't want anybody from McKinsey in some half-assed job.
Right.
If you worked at McKinsey, like they want to stamp you like you are an elite
you're
person.
one of And
you're
so,
a byproduct.
Like,
I look at it the same way. Like if
Yeah.
somebody spent any real time with us here,
Yeah.
I want them to go out and kick ass. Like I don't want them to be like, oh, this is a half-assed clown.
And think that that's a representation of what's really going on.
Yeah. No, that's
absolutely.
totally different. Like we've had a couple people that have worked here for like 2-3 months that like couldn't hack it and came up with some reason why we were awful and then left. That's different. I don't care about those people. But like people that have given, like Tom across there, he's my longest standing employee across all of my companies in history. Like if he leaves somewhere, like I don't want him to go suck. You know? Like he's got to like represent, you know? So
we have created to kind of counter that, and what you were talking about, Sissy, is we've created a ladder system, right? So first, all of our employees
make people climb ladders.
all of our if it's
like
not
snake
physically.
down.
Like, I want this to be real life chutes and ladders. Is what I'm hoping for.
No, so we.
Well, snakes and ladders.
You didn't close the deal. You get thrown from the precipice of freedom.
Yep. No, all of our agents, they go through a 30, 60, 90 process. So they have goals from day 0 to day 30. If they don't hit those goals, there's no day 31. 31 to 60. They have goals.
That's awesome.
Like you end it?
This is being recorded, right? And so through that process, I've had people make it to day 80 to day 90, but they didn't hit all the goals and they didn't hit everything. And when I ask them, what's going on, right? 9 times out of 10, it's nothing other than I didn't have time.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the office 9 to 12 Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
You had time.
You have time.
So that's kind of that's what I base my team off of. And my goal had been, going back into real estate, I'm going to do like 10, 15 deals, make a little bit of money, do okay. Here I am now. I've had, we're currently at 3 agents that work for me. My wife does all of our compliance and our admin. And this year, we are, as a team, will gross over $500,000 in commissions. Properties in Georgia are a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
But it's all about, if anyone's thinking about like sales, right, or any kind of sales gig, it's a people game, and you bring your A game to everything. So I called a guy. It was a $400,000 house. He was for sale by owner. And I was like, hey, man, I want to show you what I do. We're more aggressive in our marketing than anybody else. We use video marketing. These are the things that we do. Because this is a town where the top agents are still putting homes in the newspaper.
Wow.
Like, dude, in this market, they sell before the newspaper comes out. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I go over there and I give him the whole presentation, and I give it to him the same that I would give a $3 million, $4 million house out in California. And he's like, okay, great. This is great. I've got one couple that's already called me. They're going to come look at the property, but if they don't like it, we're going to list with you. I said, okay, cool. I understand, and I'll respect that. And if you want to just pay a flat fee and have me do the contracts, I'm good with that too. So the couple comes down, they buy the house, they pay cash for it. They pay less for it than I told them it was worth, but I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I keep following up with the guy because I'm like, hey, it's a relationship game. And I know 0 people in Rome, like no one.
Yeah.
The first time I stepped foot in Rome was August of last year. I get a phone call one day in my office. He's like, hey, my dad and I have a couple of properties, and we're tired with all the local agents like bullshit. Like, we're tired of the ads. We're tired of all this stuff. Can you meet us at one of the properties and kind of take a look and see what you could do for them? So that was in November of last year. I've sold 14 properties for them with an average price point of $500,000.
Wow.
I'm selling a $2.5 million farm for them, and we're closing on it on Tuesday. I'll make $72,000 on that deal.
Good for you, man.
But what I do, and this is one of the biggest things, is like that earned income, that's gone. I try really hard. This has been one of the hardest things for me, especially still being, somewhat young, is not buying the luxuries with it. Because at first I bought the luxuries with it. I bought.
But you have to see what comes next.
I went to Cabela's and I dropped $3,000 on a new rifle for my elk hunt. I went and bought a $1,000 watch.
But it's okay to do that stuff. But you can't just do that. So like,
right.
I am a person that literally wants nothing.
Yeah.
Like it is like, I don't even like, it's like a nightmare to buy me presents because like, I'm like, I really don't need anything. Like I want to have the occasional glass of whiskey, the occasional glass of wine.
Yeah.
I want to, watch whatever garbage streaming at when I'm smoked at the end of the night, and other than that, like I like grappling and I like all the different business challenges that we have, and so like everything else is
so we were planning on taking the 70 that we're making and buying my wife like an expedition, like getting her a new car. We've got the kids, she deserves a new car, so this is very patient woman.
I actually thought you meant like an expedition, like
No.
we're going on safari.
No, like a Ford expedition, because this woman puts up with a lot. Because I'm the guy, I build probably 30 businesses a month in my head, and I talk about them, and I research them, and I look into them, and then I do nothing with them. But I feel confident.
But that's all right.
That's
That's
okay.
a good
Yeah.
exercise.
But it's like, and that's exactly what it is. It's like, it's an exercise for me. So that was the plan. And so I start kind of dabbling around. I'm looking into investments. Like, okay, what could I buy? I could buy a duplex that pays $1,400 a month on rent, and it is what it is. I could make a little bit of money. Let me look into some commercial real estate and see, maybe that I can make some money with that. It's not that big of a check, but maybe I could put some down. So then I stumble into self-serve car washes.
It's like it's a massive profit center, and you have almost no overhead.
So I find one that's for sale for $70,000.
It's meant to be.
And so I literally. So here's the thing. I've been looking into them for like less than 24 hours. And I walk into my wife's sewing room and I say, hey, babe, I found some investments I kind of want to look at. If it's something we're interested in doing, it would mean no car for you, but come get in the car. We're going to go look. And so I take her
But
to
we can
the...
clean other cars.
so I take her and we pull up to this like abandoned car wash that's been shut down for like 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Needs a new roof. There's like 1,000 yellow jackets and wasps all over the place. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like,
This is the one.
this is
We're
it.
going to start flipping car washes.
Yeah. So we literally, drive. We look at it. I've done some research on it. I go home and I immediately just write an offer on it. But I structure it because, I mean, you got to be smart in the way you structure it. I could offer them cash and pay for it, but then I wouldn't have any money for, remodeling it and everything like that. So, one of the biggest things I did, and this is a tiny deal, but I got it to work. I told the guys, like, look, I'll give you, first I offered them $55 for it. I'm going to put $20 down, and you're going to carry the note for, $35,000 for 2 years. Not that big of a deal. And they come back, they're like, well, we agreed to everything, but, we wanted 60. I said, okay, we'll do 60 and I'll put 25 down. And for 2 years, but one wrinkle I want to add to it is I want to do 2 balloon payments of $10,000, one at the year mark and one at the 2-year mark. So that keeps my monthly payment like less than $400. And I pay, and I told him, I was like, and I'll even do like an 8% interest on it. That's what we'll do. That's fine. And the guy's like, yeah, cool. We're done. So now this one commission check from this farm is paying to buy the car wash and for the complete remodel, refit, re-equipment and everything. And the only thing that I will owe money on is half of the property. But once I have it remodeled and everything going on, it'll be worth $250,000 easy.
Yeah.
But I plan to keep it because after a year of being open, I've brought so many other like industry people out there that, it should be grossing $10,000 a month easy. And so I'm like, okay. So now I started looking. I'm already negotiating on a lease for a second one. So my wife,
The car wash king coming up. All right, we've got. I hate to do this.
No, we gotta wrap it up.
We are already the longest podcast.
That's the last
had.
of my businesses. Nick.
We're already the longest podcast we've ever had. Probably because Suze won't stop talking.
I'm sorry.
It's like constantly
rabbit.
oh yeah, I'm English, etc.,
That's
etc.
right. I mean, yeah.
But I would like, give me, and you have 1 minute only.
Okay.
Parting thoughts on somebody that wants to get into any of your lines of work. What do they do? 1 minute, go.
So do your homework, looking into sales first, and be open to learning, right? Number one thing, change the way you speak. No more yes, no questions. If you want anything in life, it's you got to ask questions. If someone asks you to sell them a pen, don't try and sell them a pen. Ask them questions. Hey, Nick, how long you been in the market for a pen?
Since 1978.
Okay, great. Do you normally buy expensive pens or cheap pens?
The cheapest pen possible that gives me great glide.
Okay, great glide. That's what you're looking for in a pen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if we could find you a pen that's cheap and it gives great glide, is there any other reason we shouldn't be able to do business together today?
Not one I can think of.
Perfect, great. Here's the contract, here's the pen. Like, I mean, it's.
I feel like a contract for a pen is probably too much, but I will buy the pen.
There we go. Hey,
You're signing
it is
it
what
with
it
the
is. There's payments attached to it.
All right. And with that, Steve now has to be quiet, which he has been unable to do for 92 minutes. And Suze and I are going to wrap this thing up. Suze, I'm going to let you start because you have not been as vocal as I expected.
So it's quite interesting, everything that Stephen said. There's bits of business advice throughout. One is he's very structured with his staff and with himself. Like he's always reevaluating.
Did you say that I'm structured?
Not at all.
Thank
no. He's always reevaluating the situation, whether it's his training, his processes, and I think that's really valuable.
That's all you want to say after.
Well, I've got more.
He just spoke for 92 minutes and 57 seconds, and that's like you're like he's very structured.
Well, it's because that's what I recognize because I'm structured. But yeah, so he's constantly reevaluating. He's also like Madonna. He's constantly changing. He's like, well, he is.
Wow. No, this is good. I'm liking this. You're like Madonna.
You are like Madonna. He's like the businessman Madonna. But like he's always looking for opportunity, and he's got this formula of what works, and he's applying it to different industries. And I think once he's found that winning formula, he's going to just keep going on. And
like a virgin, for example, selling for the very first time.
probably not what I would have gone with, but okay.
Yeah. So what I want people to think about is, I think we've definitely seen like a pathway to success that Stephen has shown over and over again. But if we remember how it all started in kind of a bad situation. He didn't have a path forward. He didn't know where he was going.
He didn't have the money.
He didn't have the money. And then, an opportunity arose and he took it. And then another opportunity presented itself and he took it. And I think one of the biggest things that I've seen with people that are unhappy with their lives or people that haven't succeeded in the way that they want to is they have been unwilling to take risks or to just say yes to an opportunity because it's something different than what they knew. That's the first thing, is that Stephen always says yes. If you think about every step he's taken, it's, let me go try Google. Yeah, let me go try real estate. Yeah, let me go try running my own shop. Hey, I really like this girl and I'm sick of this shop. Let's go try running a farm. Let's buy a car wash. Let's process our own meat. Like, yes, 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 yes. Now, are all these decisions perfect decisions? No. And Stephen then assesses and says, hey, this isn't worthwhile. But saying yes and taking action is so important to actually getting anywhere, because otherwise, like sitting around talking about what the perfect scenario is, like that's how you get nowhere. So to me, like that was one of the really important things that Stephen has done his entire life. The second thing is having a standard for what he expects from the people that work for him.
Yeah.
And not tolerating people that don't. Like, it's rough. And like, unless you're a total jerk, it is rough firing people. If somebody makes it 89 days and then you fire them on day 90 when they think they've probably done enough, that's rough. But their effort in that first 90 days is going to be the best effort that they're going to give you. They're not going to work harder day 91 through 180. And so if they're not getting it done then, they're not going to get it done later. And so you're both going to end up unhappy. Everyone's going to end up in failure. Yep. And so that's a really important thing. The last thing that we never talked about, but I'm going to talk about now, is that Stephen is a natural marketer. So in Rome, Georgia, he basically shows himself as an archer. So like on all of his materials, he's like slinging an arrow. It's campy, it's weird, but it's memorable. Yeah. And so I think it's really important that when you're thinking about entering a market, even though he has like a serious history of being a successful real estate agent, he's going into this saying, how do I stand out against all of these old school dudes that show the same thing over and over again? Yeah. Well, he did it with a bow and arrow. And if you hear a child in the background, that's Stephen's daughter, who just got back and is ready to have fun that does not involve a podcast. So with that, Stephen LeNoir, episode 9, Zero to Somewhere podcast. I'm really sorry that Suze took up all the time. Just, blah, blah, blah. I'm English.
So selfish.
Stephen, it was great having you.
No, I appreciate it, man. This is super exciting. I'm glad I made the trip up.
Thanks Stephen. Man.